Hello, good afternoon. We'll continue with the UCP today also as well. I thought of focusing on articles 7, 8, 9, I think I did, in article 10 and 12, and if time permits, 14. Right. So, to take the UCP 600 handout that I had given and turn to the page of article 7, where the issuing bank undertakings are concerned, and article 8 says the confirming bank undertaking. Also, I have given you a very comprehensive handout. Just keep it with yourself. I will take, after doing the UCP, I will fish out 1 or 2 or rather 5 or 6 questions and try to attempt it. In the meantime, if anybody has the March 2018 paper, if you have now, if anybody has it, just tell me that you have it, or else try to collect it next time when you're coming. I want to, do this paper on a dub basis and try to touch the UCP and the URC question also as well. March 2018 paper. See whether you have anybody of you all have this paper, and if that's the case, just say yes so I can see how much of papers that you have. For the moment, I need only to see whether March 2018 paper is there with you. In a logarithmic cycle, the buyer is known as the applicant and the seller is the beneficiary. Seller or the export is termed as the beneficiary, and the buyer or the import is known as the applicant in case of a documented credit. Right. So, at the request of the applicant, the applicant's bank or the issuing bank which is the primary responsible bank for the UCP or for the LC transaction, will execute their NT 700, which is the transmission of the letter of credit, to an advising bank, requesting the advising bank to relay the message to the beneficiary. So, when the advising bank does that at the request of the issuing bank, Article 9 applies. That's a bearing on the advising bank. Advising bank do not have any responsibilities except for the fact that to transmit the LC whatever it will be received by the advising bank, except for 2 things. That the particular advice should reflect the same wording and the same wording and accuracy of the text. Accuracy of the text. Text what they have received, right? And they should verify the apparent authenticity. And if they are unable to advise at the request of the issuing bank, the least possible delay, they have to revert back to the issuing bank and say that they are unable to advise. So these are the 2 responsibilities dependent upon on the advising bank. They do not know, they don't have any other responsibility to see, for example, whether these terms and conditions which is read to them by the issuing bank, whether those conditions are detrimental to the advising bank or to the advising bank country or to the beneficiary for that matter. And if there's certain condition, if they find that this is not workable, certain conditions when the issuing bank has put, and the advising bank sees that these conditions are just feeble, unable to work out, they cannot delete. They have to advise as it is. So this position of the advising bank changes if the advising bank have added confirmation. Right. We'll come to that. And beneficiary will now perform according to the letter of credit what they have received just now. What they are performing in the sense, they have to comply, they have to constitute a compliant presentation. Such compliant presentation or the compliant documents has to be forwarded to their bankers. If their bankers are also the advising bank, then the advising bank becomes a negotiating bank, or else the bank they submit the documents is the bank of their bank or the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank have 5 banking days. On the day of the following day of the receipt of documents, 5 banking days are counted. If they have received the documents today, 5 banking days will be counted from tomorrow, provided tomorrow is a working day or another banking day. So on the following day of receipt of the documents, they shall have maximum of 5 banking days to determine whether these documents are discrepant or not. Right. That's in the article, sub-article 14b. So, if they come across the documents are in good tender or compliant presentation, they will negotiate the documents with the beneficiary with recourse. With recourse in the sense, if they are unable to get reimbursement from the issuing bank for some reason, after sending the documents across the issuing bank, then they can fall back to the beneficiary. So that is what's called the recourse facility, which is being embedded or incorporated in the letter of indemnity. That is why when you negotiate documents for the first time from an exporter, we always take a general of letter of indemnity. General letter of indemnity. Right. So that is with recourse. So remember these. Now these are, I have told you all many times, but to proceed with the articles 7, 8, and 12 especially, you need to have a good idea of this particular cycle. Issuing bank, at the request of the applicant, execute their text with a letter of credit. Format is 5700. Format means the says the SWIFT format to an advising bank. Unless it's a domestic case, meaning both applicant and the beneficiary are mutual customer of the same bank, you always seek an advising bank. Otherwise, you can send the NC directly to the beneficiary. So the advising bank duty is to relay the text as it is, right, by checking the current of authenticity. And if they are unable to do so without giving reason, if there is possibility, they have to revert back to the issuing bank. Once the NC is received by the beneficiary, they have to collect all the documents and try to fulfill all the terms and conditions of the letter of credit stipulated in the 5700. And they have to make sure that the endeavor that a presentation constitutes a compliant presentation. Then the negotiating bank shall negotiate. Negotiating bank shall negotiate. Right. take it down quickly. In the meantime, I need to have a little bit of feedback from you with the March 2018 paper is available with you. If not, I will start from the March 2018 paper next Sunday. Make sure that you have the paper with you. Sub-article 12A. Right. Say caption nomination, you can turn the pages and see the articles. The caption of the article is nomination. Nomination. Under nomination 12A, say on a compliant presentation, negotiating bank is not bound to negotiate. Negotiating bank is not bound to negotiate. Not bound to negotiate. Except there are two conditions making them bound to negotiate, except simple A, where they have expressly agreed. Where they have expressly agreed. Agreed and communicated to the beneficiary. And communicated to the beneficiary. Where they have expressly agreed and communicated to the beneficiary. Second one, that is B, where they have added their confirmation. Where they have added their confirmation. Where they have added their confirmation. To the credit. To the credit. Right. So with the aid of that 12A, I'll proceed now. When the beneficiary forward documents to the negotiating bank, and if such documents are compliant, beneficiary cannot push the negotiating bank to negotiate. That's why I said they shall negotiate. Right? So when I say they shall negotiate, if you have taken down only, put an asterisk to shall negotiate, shall, and with the parenthesis you say, refer article 12A. So the negotiating bank will bound to negotiate only if they have expressly declared and communicated to the beneficiary. Mere declaring expressly won't suffice, they have to communicate that to the beneficiary beforehand. Second one, if they have added their confirmation of the request of the issuing bank. If they added their confirmation, then they are bound to negotiate. They are bound to negotiate. Right. Now they have negotiated documents. Now the documents are negotiated. Negotiating bank have the documents now. So they will send the documents with a covering schedule. It is not a collection instruction or not a credit instruction. It's a covering schedule, just an enclosure. Plus the document what they have negotiated. They need not tell the issuing bank that they have negotiated. That is none of their concern. Right? So negotiating bank will send the documents along with the accommodation schedule to the issuing bank. Issuing bank is in Calgary. Will have 5 banking days on the following day of presentation. So they do have 5 banking days. Right, like the negotiating bank, to check and determine whether the documents are accepted or not. In the sense, documents carry discrepancies or not. If the issuing bank finds a discrepancy where the negotiating bank has overlooked, or they have seen that particular discrepancy but thought that the issuing bank wouldn't reject the document because it's trivial, issuing bank has all the right to reject the document. So then they send their advice of refusal if there are discrepancy. Quote is the discrepancy, what the discrepancy is, and they will send the advice of refusal to the negotiating bank. Format for this is MT734. MT734. So now the documents have been rejected, meaning payment is rejected in other words. Then the negotiating bank is on spot now. They have negotiated the documents already. Now they can, charge the beneficiary against the letter of indemnity that they have obtained before negotiation. In the letter of indemnity, the recourse facility is incorporated, and they will charge or make a claim against the letter of indemnity and try to recover the money that they have paid. If the issuing bank sees the documents are in order, they will reimburse they will reimburse the negotiating bank, or they will honor. Only issuing bank or the confirming bank could honor. Right? Negotiating bank cannot honor. They have to negotiate. Negotiating bank can honor if they have added their confirmation. Then the negotiating bank is not just a negotiating bank, they are a confirming bank also as well. So this is the, I'm repeating this cycle over and over again for every article that I'm saying, that then if you have a little bit of gray area, it will get, you will get thorough on the articles. And now we come to Article 7. Article 7 deals with the liabilities or the responsibilities of the issuing bank. Right? In other words, issuing bank's undertaking towards who? Towards the beneficiary. Right. Take it down quickly. After taking down, you read at leisure. Read what you have just took it down and compare with the article and see whether the article could be understood. Rather than mere reading the article, when I say I will give in simple terms or in layman terms, should be able to understand. Right. Issuing bank's undertaking, say, provided the presentation constitute a compliant presentation, constitute a compliant presentation, Issuing bank must. Issuing bank must. Issuing bank must. Issuing bank must honor. Issuing bank must honor. Must honor. If the credit available by. If the credit available by. So there are 5 points. If the credit available by Roman 1. If the credit available by Roman 1. Side payment. Deferred payment. Get the spelling right in deferred payment. DEFERRED. There's a double R here. Available by side payment, deferred payment, or acceptance. Acceptance or acceptance. With the issuing bank. With the issuing bank. Right. I want you to do something. I don't know how we are going to do it. You can use one of the I's. Just rush Article 6B, sub-article 6B. It might state, credit must state whether it's available by side payment, by deferred payment, or by acceptance, or by negotiation. So this is the sub-article you find in UCV 600. That 4 types of letters of credit. If I put it in order, by negotiation, by side payment, by deferred payment, and by acceptance. So negotiation will not fall onto the issuing bank. That's why I said when the document is presented, constitute compliant presentation, issuing bank must honor if it is by side payment, by deferred payment, or acceptance with the issuing bank. With the issuing bank. That is point 1. Point 2. Side, what do you call point 2? Side payment. Side payment. Side payment. Look at the baggie. Side payment with a nominator bank. Side payment with a nominator bank. So this particular credit says side payment with a nominator bank. In other words, the credit available in the non-issuing bank counters, not the issuing bank counters now. So side payment with a nominated bank, and that nominated bank does not pay. And that nominated bank does not pay. Then who is responsible? Issuing bank is responsible. That's what I'm trying to say in other words. And that nominated bank does not pay. Point 3. Point 3. Deferred payment with a nominated bank. Deferred payment with a nominated bank. And that nominated bank does not incur that nominated bank does not incur its deferred payment undertaking. is deferred payment undertaking or after having undertaken and does not pay at maturity. After having undertaken but does not pay at maturity, then who is responsible? Is it the negotiating bank? No, the issuing bank is responsible. Does not take after undertaken or having taken the deferred payment undertaking and not paid at maturity, or does not pay at maturity. Right. Fourth one, acceptance with a nominated bank. Acceptance with a nominated bank. Acceptance with a nominated bank. And that nominated bank does not accept. And that nominated bank does not accept a draft. Draft means a bill of exchange. And that nominated bank does not accept a draft. Then who is responsible? The issuing bank. Or does not accept the draft, or having accepted the draft, but does not pay at maturity. Right. Now see the weight of the issuing bank's shoulders. Issuing bank is the bank who is primarily responsible for an intra-credit transaction. It is a contract between the issuing bank and the beneficiary. The applicant is no more in the picture. This is why a letter of credit is considered as a payment guarantee in point of beneficiary. Most of the beneficiaries, sellers, exporters, they try to embrace the letters of credit compared to other methods of payment because of this guarantee of the issuing bank. Right? We don't use the word guarantee because the guarantee leads to some other complications. Therefore, we say undertaking. Right? So, issuing bank must honor, if the constitute compliant presentation and such compliant presentation available by sight, deferred, or acceptance with the issuing bank, and or available by sight payment with a nominated bank and the nominated bank does not pay, or if it is available by a deferred payment with a nominated bank and that nominated bank has not incurred the deferred payment, or they have incurred the deferred payment undertaking but not pay at maturity, then the issuing bank has to pay. Or if the credit available by acceptance with a nominated bank, and if the nominated bank does not accept the draft or the bill of exchange, or they have accepted the bill of exchange but does not pay at maturity, then the issuing bank has to honor. Next one, I told you 5 things. Next one, negotiation with a nominated bank. Credit available by negotiation with a nominated bank. That phrase is very reasonable because negotiation cannot be available by the issuing bank. It has to be other than the issuing bank. Right. So that's why I said negotiate by negotiation with a nominated bank, and that nominated bank does not negotiate, and that nominated bank does not negotiate. Right. So you need to by heart this, not in the same wordings or in the same flow of the way that you read it, but at least the 5 points you need to understand and remember. Right. Now we'll go for compliant presentation. Compliant presentation. Yeah, complying presentation. Complying presentation. Article 15. Article 15. Article 15. The other day I told you what is compliance presentation, right? Compliance presentation is that the credit should, what you call the document should fulfill the terms and conditions of the credit. That document should be presented according to international standard banking practice, and it should be conform to the UCP 600. So, or if all the 3 ingredients satisfies, that particular presentation is called a compliant presentation. That comes under definition in the articles 2. Now there's a separate article for compliant presentation. Now you know what compliant presentation is. Now we are going to see what happens if there's a compliant presentation. Article 50 says about that. Right. Now we see there are only 3 banks to involve. Now you should have a good framework of the LC mechanism. There are complicated areas like in transferable, transmitted, and back-to-back. We have not touched yet. Right? So I'm making a paving to understand them more as well. But for the moment, you know, there are 3 parties involved, right? In documented credit transaction, issuing bank, negotiating bank, or rather, when you say correctly, it's a nominated bank or the confirming bank. They are not contractual parties. Yes, if there's a confirming bank, there's a contractual obligation towards the issuing bank and the confirming bank to each other. But if it's a nominated bank, they are not bound to be obligatory. That is why 12A came into be. But these are the 3 parties: the issuing bank, and the nominated bank, and the confirming bank. Right? Issuing bank, nominated bank, and the confirming bank are the 3 banks that we always discuss about. Right. Now we'll take the issuing bank under compliance presentation. Take it down. When an issuing bank determines, that is under compliance presentation, point 1. When an issuing bank determines that a presentation is complying, underline this words, it must honor. It must honor. Right? The way that the negotiating bank can negotiate by taking an indemnity, issuing bank cannot do that. If the set of documents being put forward or thrown in front of the issuing bank, and if such documents are complying after checking for my bank, if they have determined that documents are a good tender, then they have to honor. They cannot postpone. They have to honor. Not they shall honor, it must honor. Must is a definite verb. They must honor. That's why I say underline this. You might get caught for these kind of phrases under MCQ, right? So you need to know the precise answer. What the issue bank should do if there's a compliant presentation, they will not negotiate, they will not pay, they will not accept, they must honor. Right? No two words about it, they should honor. Second one. When a confirming bank determines, that is not the issue bank, but a confirming bank. When a confirming bank determines that a presentation is complying, now they have two responsibilities. One, they must honor or negotiate. They must honor or negotiate. Remember, when they negotiate, that negotiation has to be without recourse. Here, when they negotiate, since they are not added their confirmation, when they negotiate the beneficiary the documents, it's with recourse. Article 8 says, when the confirming bank negotiates documents, then obviously confirming bank is a negotiating bank, but they are wearing the shoes of the confirming bank. When they confirm the document, when they negotiate documents, they cannot fall back to the beneficiary if the issuing bank does not pay. That's why I say without recourse. So when a combined presentation be determined by the confirming bank, they should honor or negotiate. They should honor or negotiate. 2. Forward the documents where? The issuing bank. Forward the documents to the issuing bank. Forward the documents to the issuing bank. Right. So, if the documents are given to the issuing bank, they must honor. If the documents are given to the the confirming bank, provided the documents comply, then they should either negotiate or honor and forward the documents to the confirming bank. Third point, when a nominated bank determines that a presentation is complying, they shall honor or negotiate. That is point 1. They shall. Underline the word they shall. They shall. They are not bound. They shall. If you want to hyperlink a little bit, say refer 12a. They shall honor or negotiate. They shall honor or negotiate. 2. Forward the documents to the confirming bank or issuing bank. Forward the documents to the confirming bank or the issuing bank. If they forward the documents to the confirming bank, then the confirming bank will check the documents, they will reimburse the negotiating bank, and they will forward the documents to the issuing bank. If the nominated bank has seen the documents as complied, they shall, if they want, they can use their discretion they can negotiate or honor and forward documents either to the confirming bank, if they are a confirming bank, or they can forward documents to the issuing bank. Right. That's what we call compliant presentation. Now you can read the Article 15 and see what you have taken down and just fine tune. But here and there I have, insert a few phrases there into Article 6B and Article 8 in a lighter vein and sub-article 12A. Right. Article 8. Article 8, that is confirming banks undertaking. That's a big article. But this particular article is not very important. But here and there are certain features that you need to know so that when you're constructing an answer, if there are certain elements of a confirmation also being given in the question, you should be able to construct properly to get the attention of the examiner. In Article 8, this is what you need to know. Now you may have copied this, I guess. Now where we were, issued bank has sent the documents or rather sending the LC to this advising bank. Now this particular advising bank is not just an advising bank. Applicant have told the issuing bank to seek confirmation from from a bank overseas. So this LC, the format is slightly different now. It's true, it's 2700, but there are a few changes that you do in the LC. Those are technical areas. But in this case, now this is a confirmed LC. Confirmed LC. Right. Why the issuing bank has requested the bank to confirm? Because the application filled by the applicant says to add confirmation. Why the applicant has done that? Because the beneficiary wants the applicant that he wants a confirmed LC, not an unconfirmed LC. Why he wants a confirmed LC from the applicant? Because he is not very much sure of the issuing bank's status. Why he thinks of the doubt of the issuing bank status? Because the issuing bank domicile in a country where the central bank of that particular country is volatile. The policies of that particular country is volatile, stable, or the economic levels is uncertain. There are political uncertainty. So when they deal with a good applicant is good enough. But when they deal with the issuing bank also known, right? But the issuing bank has to be governed by the central bank, the big bank. But if the big bank is shaky and if their pillars are not strong, not reinforced, and because of the political instability, then the beneficiary has fears. Then they say, okay, I wanted you to establish a letter of credit because if you are unable to pay, the issuing bank will pay. In other words, issuing bank guarantees. But what happens if the issuing bank cannot pay? So therefore, I want your bank to nominate a bank where I am telling a bank in USA or a bank in London and request them to add their confirmation. So that when the issuing bank won't pay, that confirming bank will pay. Right. Now we are going to change the cycle a little bit here. I'll give a denomination here. Dollars. Applicant is in Sri Lanka. And the beneficiary is in Japan. Right. So beneficiary wants the applicant to get a confirmed letter of credit. So what the issuing bank will do is now They can't just see a correspondent bank. To add the confirmation, they have to maintain a credit line with a particular bank. It's a very costly affair. So, in visit of Japan or in visit of the beneficiary where he resides in Japan, say in Osaka, Issue Bank will see what is the closest corresponding bank they have where they maintain a credit line. When you take a country to country, most of the banks, they have credit lines with one bank only. They have plenty of in abundance of corresponding banks for testing arrangements. But to maintain a credit line which you don't yield anything from them, it's a costly affair. It's a waste. So sometimes the issue bank will have arrangements with the correspondent bank in Tokyo, very far away from Osaka. Right? So they will seek the bank in Japan. We'll say, just for example, Bank of Tokyo. And advise the LC to Bank of Tokyo, not to Osaka. Our beneficiary is in Osaka, Japan. So LC getting detoured now. And request the Bank of Tokyo to advise the letter of credit to Japan, to Osaka. Now this Bank of Tokyo is not a mere advising bank. It is not an advising bank. Right? It's not a mere advising bank. It's a bank who advises the letter of credit as a capacity advising bank, but getting engaged to the letter of credit. So in other words, Bank of Tokyo in this instance will have the same responsibility of the issue bank. Right? So they have advised the letter of credit. And they will mention in the letter of credit that they have engaged in the letter of credit. So when the beneficiary forward document, now in this case, there's a little bit of a hitch here, or rather disadvantage. Beneficiary cannot give the documents to his bank to negotiate. They can forward, but that particular bank will not negotiate. Because issuing bank will not like any other bank other than Bank of Tokyo negotiate documents. Not only issuing bank, even the Bank of Tokyo will not like. They want to see the LC, that is why the LC has been detoured. And also they want to see the document source as well, why they have added their confirmation. So beneficiary has to, from Osaka, has to call over here and hand over the documents to the Tokyo bank. Documents. When the documents are compliant, if the documents are compliant, now this particular bank has 5 banking days, some Article 14B. There are 5 banking days. And if they find that the documents are compliant, then they should honor. They should honor or negotiate. Right? Again, you have to refer where? Sub-Article 12A. 12A. Now, the bank is not bound to negotiate, right? Except where they have expressly declared that they will, at their negotiate and communicate to the beneficiary, or they have added their confirmation. So, Bank of Tokyo has added their confirmation, so they should negotiate. When you say they should negotiate, then comes the next one. When they negotiate, obviously it should be without recourse. Without recourse. Without recourse. Right. So we need to take down that little sentence, which we spelled out in the Article 8, and say, confirming bank should negotiate. Confirming bank should negotiate without recourse. Without recourse. If the credit is available by negotiation, if the credit is available by negotiation, if the credit is available by negotiation with the confirming bank, with the confirming bank. That is the most important ingredient. I took it from the Article 8, right? So confirming bank has a better footing. So when you have an issuing bank, when you have a confirming bank, in other words, the particular SCRP confirmed by a confirming bank, beneficiary will have a double guarantee. Because issuing bank guarantees, and if the issuing bank fails, confirming bank honors or negotiates. So practically it's a double guarantee payment. So when you have a double guarantee, the fares are very expensive. So it's a costly fare, in other words, right? Right. I didn't get the feedback of which related to the question paper 2018. Right. I need a further commitment of yours then. At least one or two people or more than that, I appreciate. If you can, say yes. Whether you can, collect the paper by next Sunday. Right. I need to see some yeses in here. I'm not quite sure whether it's been uploaded there so that you can easily this thing, or you may have to purchase. I'm not quite sure about that, of course. But I need to have this paper 18, March 2018 paper available with you, so that I could, straight away tell the question and do the discuss the question paper. So can you give me that commitment that you will make sure that you will keep the 2018 paper with you ready by next Sunday? I need some feedback from you. Okay. Padmanabhan Pradeep has said yes. I want 2 or 3. I can see about 12 or 13 people have logged in. One of the reasons because I am not allowed to, type out the same text what they have published in the college. So unless I modify the questions, I put across, but it will be a time-consuming thing. But if you can keep the, rather have the paper ready by next Sunday, it will be easy, right? Not only 2018, I have given a couple of years and semesters. You need to correct them and see. On no sooner than I finish the UCP, I'm going to take the papers here and there, and papers here and there. In the sense, I will fish out certain questions from on an ad hoc basis on the question papers, and I will do it. So I need 1 or 2 confirmations from you, saying that you will, keep the 2018 March paper ready by next Sunday. Right. So students have, committed on that, of course, because Now, one thing that I need to tell you, you can take that as a disadvantage also as well. When you are having these online sessions, it's extremely difficult to share. So you need to have individual basis the question papers or whatever the material that you do have. Unlike in a classroom where you can share if you have either forgotten to bring or you do not have the paper. So therefore, I prefer you can have the paper near you, because I will not have sufficient time, might not have sufficient time to read the question, and now you have to take the question and then discuss. Right. So 3 or 4 guys actually said what only thing you have to diarize and try to get the paper somehow. You do not have, without waiting the last moment. Right, take it down, Article 10. Article 10. Article 10. Now, when I'm saying Article 10, you are changing what you call the, having the, provided that you have the hard copy, right? The UCP is running up to so many pages, I know. But if possible, turn the page into the Article 10 on the caption amendments. Amendments. Right. Before coming to Article 10, I forgot one more thing. Take down that on a side. As per subarticle 7B, I forgot to tell that. 7B. As per subarticle 7B. B for Bertie. Right? Now we are looking at the 7B, right? 7B. Issuing bank is irrevocably bound. Irrevocably bound. Issuing bank is irrevocably bound. Irrevocably bound. Irrevocably. Irrevocably. Irrevocably bound to honor. To honor. As of the time, it issues the credit. It issues the credit. Right? So to that extent it goes. It doesn't apply in a normal scenario where you find domestic transactions. I am bound when the recipient receives the particular message that I have sent. Not that the time that I have sent across, I'm bound. But if it's been lost in transaction, cannot be held responsible. But in case of literature trade, UCP is very, very clear and sound, and putting the issuing bank into a so difficult grip and say, you are responsible at the time that you have issued the letter of credit. Right? Irrevocably bound. Irrevocably means you cannot revoke without consent of all parties. Irrevocable means without consent of all parties involved in the credit, you cannot either revoke or amend or cancel. Revoke means cancel. Right? It goes same to the amendment also as well. Amendment means you have sent the letter of credit, and if the customer says, now in a letter of credit, there's a later shipment date. Later shipment date. And an expiry date. So it's just gone now on day 1. After day 30, not day 30, day 7, the beneficiary may have communicated with the applicant and said, here, look, you have given a date of later shipment date is very fine. I'm unable to, assemble the goods for export. So I need some more time to ship the goods. Why don't you get an amendment from the ship bank? Otherwise, it will be cited as a late shipment when the documents are presented. So the applicant rushes to the bank and requests the banker to amend the letter of credit, what they have issued 7 days ago. So the bank will issue amendment advice. Take it down. The Swift format of the amendment is 707. 707. Right? So when the issue bank sends the amendment, issue bank is bound or liable at the time that the amendment being sent. That little part is understood. Now we are going to a scenario to understand the Article 10. Otherwise, the Article 10 is a huge article. For just a plain reader, it's very difficult to grasp it, the contents of the article. So I will take a small scenario and give the scenario to you and see, and then you will understand what the article, but you are bound to read the article after that so that the scenario could be incorporated to the article. Right. Take the scenario. You just take down the way that I'm writing. That's a storyline, all right, but I'm putting in different symbolic form. If you want to take it down in storyline format, doesn't matter. Or else you take it down, but I will tell you what I really meant on this. This is on day 1, at the applicant's request, issue bank has established a letter of credit favoring beneficiary, which he received the LC from the advising bank on day 3. If you want to put a storyline, you remember and put a storyline later. Right? Day 1, bank has opened a letter of credit for $10,000, which the beneficiary has received on day 3. On day 3. On day 2, applicant rushes to the issuing bank. Applicant rushes to the issuing bank and says, look, I heard the beneficiary has not yet received the LC, but I have found a different supplier. It's quite cheap. It's quite cheap. So why don't you cancel the letter of credit now? We are in day 2 now. Cancel the letter of credit. Right? And we will open a fresh LC to the different supplier. Right. So in that sense, we'll say here beneficiary 1. Right. Or beneficiary A will be beneficiary A. So now we are going to refresh the storyline now a little bit because of this day 2 matter. On day 1, issue bank issued a letter of credit for $10,000, which received the beneficiary in day 3. Received the beneficiary A in day 3. On day 2, that is 1 day before the day 3. On day 2, applicant requests to cancel the letter of credit. Cancel the letter of credit. Cancel the letter of credit with the issue bank as obliged. Right? And this particular cancellation receives the what you call the beneficiary on day 2 itself. Now don't ask the question, how come LC which was open on day 1 received by day 3, but the amendment which, now this is an amendment, that's all. Amendment carries a cancellation, right? But the amendment that you are sent on the day 2, how come it is on day 2 itself? So who cares? We are not going to that in detail, right? My scenario is this. Day 1 is received to day 3. Day 2 amendment received on the day itself, day 2 itself, of the same beneficiary. Right? Then on day 2, now applicant knows that LC day 1 LC has is the day 3 and day 2 has cancelled LC, cancelled LC, and at the day 2, a fresh LC will open, not for 10,000, for 9,900. $9,900, because he said no, he got cheap supply, $9,900, which received the beneficiary two on day 2, please say beneficiary not 2B. Why? If you want, you can put a storyline. I will give 1 minute, or just see whether you can figure out a storyline and develop. This is how I put a storyline for students usually. But if it is too vague and too vulnerable, you can just put a storyline in between. Right. Akash. Day 1, Issue Bank open LC for $10,000, which received by the beneficiary A on day 3. Day 2, cancellation followed to an amendment. Format is 707, this is 700, which received by the beneficiary A on day 2. And on the same day, since it has been cancelled, they opened a fresh LC for $9,900, which is received by the beneficiary B on the day 2 itself. So this is the scenario. Right. Right? You took it down? Now you say underneath, Issue Bank received documents in relation to beneficiary A and beneficiary B. In relation to beneficiary A and beneficiary B. In other words, Issue Bank has received 2 sets of documents. Right? I tell you that. If you want, you can correct that. Issue Bank has received 2 separate documents which related to beneficiary A and beneficiary B. What are the 2 documents? 10,000 and 9,900. Right? Assume both sets of documents are complying. Both sets of documents are complying. There are no discrepancies, right? Complying. What is the portion of the Issue Bank? I'm asking the question means liability. What is the liability of the Issue Bank? AAA. Honor. Honor documents for US dollars 9,900 only. On a document for US dollars, 9,900 only. B. On a document for US dollars, 10,000 only. C. On a both documents. On a both documents. On a both documents. Now, when I put C here on a both documents, applicant is not going to pay the shipment twice, because applicant want to give money to the value of $10,000 when the documents come, but he cancels NC2. So now he has opened a fresh NC 9,900. So according to the applicant books, there is no NC of this. There is only 9,900. So when the documents come for 9,000, he will give a letter of authority, please debit my account, equivalent of 9,900 plus free charge. That's all he will give. He will not mention anything about the $8,000. But the liabilities here, what is the what the thinking that you have? You should honor the document for 9,900 or 10,000, or should the ship bank honor for both? Right. Now I want you all to read on your own with a quick one, and I want you all to give a feedback. Right? It's a bit of a difficult task, all right. But this is how you learn how to analyze an article. Right? How to analyze an article. Read article, sub-article 10C. It's completely a technical jargon, all right. Read article 10C and see whether you can answer this question and give a quick nudge to it. So I will take 2 minutes. While they are reading, I'll also read, so that will refresh in my mind also as well. Article 10C. Right. Let me read the article 10C for you. Terms and conditions of the original credit or the credit incorporating previously accepted amendments will remain in force for the beneficiary until the beneficiary communicates its acceptance or amendment to the bank that advise such amendment. The beneficiary should give notification of the acceptance or rejection of an amendment. If the beneficiary fails to give such notification, a percentage that complies with the credit and not to any not yet accepted amendment will be deemed to be notification of acceptance by the beneficiary of such amendment. As of that moment, the credit will be amended. Right. I know that you didn't understand a thing on that. Right. So apply your common sense then. You have a little bit of an ingredient on the tendency, all right. Reason for that I said this because it was written in English, but it's difficult to understand. Right. Now put a comment on the chat box and say what you do. You miss the ship bank now. You are going to honor the 9,901 or the 10,001, or you have to honor both. Yes. So I can see two answers coming favoring 9,901. It's very right because it's the common sense. So I give a little bit of praise to both Vishwa and Tanushika, or anybody who willing to say 9,900, because it's direct application of common sense. For a banker, I'm not quite sure whether they are bankers or non-bankers right for the moment. But then to become a banker, you need to have only common sense. So, issue bank opened a letter of credit for 10,000, but that particular letter of credit was received by the beneficiary 2 days after. Before receiving the LC by the beneficiary, applicant rushes and says to open a fresh LC for 9,900 to different supplier. We termed him as a beneficiary B. But then what happens after a couple of days, issuing bank got two sets of documents. The 9,901, which was drawn against the what you call the 9,900 LC by the beneficiary B1, and the documents which was prepared by the beneficiary A for $10,000 drawn against the LC, which was issued on day 1. Now the issuing bank has two sets of documents for one LC. What to do with it? Right. The Article 10C says completely otherwise. I'm thankful for the people who have only two students have replied, for Vishwa and Tarushika. Right. Now I will give some points here. In other words, I'm analyzing this question now, giving some points. Actually, what I'm giving is a simplifying or stretching the Article 10C. After doing that, with me, you are supposed to read the Article 10C once again, and we'll see whether we are coming to some kind of a compromise. So we'll analyze the question now. This is a very tough question. This type of question you might not get it, but who knows, right? Fine. Right, take it down. Analysis. As per subarticle 10B of UCP 600, 10B, B for Bertie, 10B of UCP 600, an issuing bank is irrevocably bound. An issuing bank is irrevocably bound by an amendment as of the time it issues the amendment. Right? So make a cross-reference into the article, subarticle 7B. You make a cross-reference. Cross-reference. 7B. When I say cross-reference, that means it doesn't give the same thing in the 7B, but a similar thing. Cross-reference. But the 7B says, issuing bank is bound irrevocably as of the time the credit being issued. That's the 7B. 10B says, same liability towards the issuing bank when an amendment being issued. So, when you combine the Article 7B and 10B, you come to a conclusion where the issuing bank is liable at the time of issuing the LC, as of the time it was issuing the LC or an amendment. right? So coming back to the scenario, issuing bank opened LC for day one, so he's bound, irrevocably bound. Then they issued an amendment day two. Issuing bank is bound on that. They cannot say they did issue the amendment. So issuing bank is bound. In day two, they send another LC. It's an LC. So 7B comes to play again. So issuing bank is bound. In other words, 1, 2, 2, that is credit, amendment, credit. Issuing bank is bound. Right? Based on Article 7B and 10B. Right. So as per 10B, issuing bank is irrevocably bound as of time that it issued the amendment. Right? As per sub-article 10C, next point. As per article 10C, as per sub-article 10C, the beneficiary should give notification. The beneficiary should give notification. Should give notification. Should give notification on the line. Should give notification. Give notification of acceptance or rejection. Of acceptance or rejection of an amendment. That particular sentence is there in the 10C. Right? The beneficiary should give notification of acceptance or rejection of an amendment. Right? So day one LC went. Beneficiary received the LC day 3. Day 2, there was an amendment sent by the issuing bank. Day 2, there was an amendment sent by the issuing bank. So, beneficiary A should have informed or notified the issuing bank whether they accept or reject according to Article 10C. Without doing that, they drew the documents for $10,000 and sent across. So they completely ignored the amendment, in other words. In other words, they have rejected the amendment, right? And forwarded the documents as per the original LC. While in the process, they did not bother to notify. But the Article 10C says they should notify the rejection or acceptance. Right. Next point. Next point. Now see how stubborn that clause when you read and stop from there. But immediately a diminishing clause proceeds. That's the one that I'm going to tell you. So how do you start the diminishing clause? You can have with negative conjunctions. However, although, nevertheless, even though, right? So that gives a diminishes sentence on the preceding sentence. Next point. However, if the beneficiary has not sent a notification, if the beneficiary has not sent a notification, with regard to the acceptance, with regard to the exception, with regard to the acceptance or rejection, with regard to the acceptance or rejection, the issuing bank will get to know the issue bank, now that's a practical scenario that I'm incorporating to the article. Issue bank will get to know, only when they receive the set of documents. There's a small phrase to be included there. The issue bank will get to know the status, only when receive the receipt of the documents. Only when receipt of documents. Receipt of documents. R-E-C-E-I-P-T. Receipt of documents. Right. What is that now? That's completely alien to the outward meaning of the Article 10C. I tell again, when the amendment is sent on day 2, beneficiary A should have notified the amendment being accepted. If they say accepted, they cannot draw a document against this particular C. That is cancelled. But if they are silent on that, issue bank will get to know whether they have rejected or accepted only when they receive the document. Right? So therefore, right? So when they give a document for $10,000, then the issue bank has come to a conclusion as if that they have rejected the amendment. Now this goes for a little bit of a one-side way of an argument. You remember I told you, as of the time that is on day 2, when the issue bank sends the amendment, who is liable? Issue bank is liable. This amendment was received by day 2, but I never said beneficiary is liable for day 2. They have received the amendment, that's all. So they can use their discretion whether to accept or rejection. It's the good governance of the beneficiary to send the notification. But if they are not sent, then the issue bank will not know whether they have accepted or not. What the issue bank would have done was, they shouldn't have entertained this LC. They should have bluntly said to the applicant, here look, it's true that they have notified us, not notified, then we have to make a separate communication to them whether they have accepted or not. Until we get the confirmation from them, we are not able to establish a new LC for you. That is the correct way of the handling of issue bank. But instead, they took it for granted, overlooked the Article 10C and opened a letter of 35,900 for different beneficiary. Right? And next point. Therefore, issue bank is liable. Issue bank is liable for the both drawings. For the both drawings. That is for 9,900 and for 10,000 for both issue bank is liable. Right, understood? Right, second scenario. Day one, LC was established for US dollars 200,000, favoring beneficiary A, which received by the beneficiary on day 2. On day 2. Now you know the storyline, no? Day 1, LC is established for $200,000, favoring a beneficiary A, and which received by the beneficiary on day 2. On day 1, that is latter part of the day, day 1, issue bank sends an amendment for reducing the LC by $100,000. Yeah, reducing the LC by $100,000. What is the new value now? 100,000. Which that was received by the beneficiary A on day 2 itself. Right? On day 1, LC issued for $200,000. Beneficiary received on day 2. That LC was received by the beneficiary to the advising bank on day 2. On day 1 itself, this LC was amended. In other words, it was reduced. The value of the LC was reduced by $100,000. Now the new value is 100,000. So this party, we'll say the party's name is Fernando and company. So Fernando and company had an LC limit with the bank. LC limit with the bank site 200,000. LC limit 200,000. It should be in rupees. I have taken US dollars here, 200,000. So when the amendment being sent, automatically the LC outstanding depletes. So day 1, when the LC was issued for 200,000, this limit was fully utilized. There's no way that the customer can push another LC. But on day 1, to the latter part of the day, when they reduced the LC for 100,000 by 100,000, there was another leeway of 100,000 created here in the limit. Now the customer can push another LC to LC. That's the main idea for him to reduce the LC also as well. So on day 2, he pushes another LC for 50,000. That was received by the beneficiary B on day 3. Same thing like the earlier one. So I'm not going to detail, but I'm watching a little bit of difference in here. Now, when the day 1 LC was issued, issue bank is liable for this LC. When the day 1, therefore, the amendment being issued, reducing the value, then the issue bank was liable, right? But issue bank cannot issue this LC for $50,000 unless otherwise We are convinced that the amendment be accepted by the beneficiary. Right? Otherwise, what happens? This amendment will be rejected in silent, and the beneficiary will claim and draw a document for 200,000, and this fellow or the beneficiary B will draw a document for $50,000, and for 250,000 he will issue back has to pay. Issuing back has to pay. Right? But I have a different issue now to put forward. When you open a letter of credit, the limit node of the back end of the system get fulfilled by the drawing. There was a limit of 200,000. Now it will say fully utilized. But when you do a reduction, this reduction should not get adjusted in the computer system. Right? Until a special authorization makes by the user for the limit to get interfere and to put the outstanding down. What is that special authorization? That is, if the beneficiary B, beneficiary A says amendment being accepted, until such time we will not know whether the amendment or the reduction of the value will be accepted or not. So you need to check your trade finance, that particular element of the feature is available or not. Otherwise, it's extremely dangerous to do amendments to make a value reduction. But this is not so in case of an NS. If the day one LCB 200,000, if the day one amendment says increase by 100,000, then the new value will be 300,000. Then immediately we will get the what you call the outstanding will get price, provided there's a limit levy. But if there's a reduction, the limit should not get reduced until you get the confirmation. What is that confirmation? That's what Article 10C says. Now we'll read the article as promised and see whether the particular thing that I have said. Now, what I said is very easily grasped, right? You could easily grasp it. But what is written in India is difficult to understand. But we'll see now by reading it, giving little pauses and see whether my illustration or my explanation is right. Now take the phrase from here, 10C. 10C, the beneficiary should give notification of acceptance or rejection of an amendment. That is in day 2, day 1, the beneficiary should give notice. Now the limitation clause follows. The beneficiary should give notification of acceptance or rejection amendment if the beneficiary fails to give such notification. That's why I said however. If the beneficiary fails to give such notification, the presentation that complies with the credit and to any not yet accepted amendments will be deemed to be notification of acceptance by the beneficiary of such amendment. In other words, issue bank will get to know only when the documents are presented whether the amendment is accepted or rejected. Understood? Right. Now let me know whether you understood that perfectly or not. And this is paramount important, this particular article, right? And I need to get your feedback quickly as possible before moving to a next article. Right, give me a feedback. You understood the particular article, Charlie? Right, Vishwa, thank you. But only thing I want you to read article A, B, C. Right, everybody? Article A, B, C, and try to get that particular, what you call the substances, what we written in the article, and give a little bit of regard and see how the amendments are worked, right? Article 14. Yes, that's a question. Yes. Till when can send an amendment after? Till when can send an amendment after opening a LC? Yes, this is calling from Vishwa, right? Yes, Vishwa. LC could be amended anytime, since a number of times before the expiry of the letter of credit, right? When there's an amendment is doing, and if the expiry date is threatened, then you have to extend the expiry date also as well. But you can't do an amendment after the expiry of the letter of credit. Every LC has an expiry date. Every LC has expiry date and at the place of expiry, right? So before the expiry of the letter of credit, you can do an amendment. And if a customer says 1 month after the expiry, there are instances that the customers, call over and say that you need to do an amendment, and the amendment comes 1 month after the expiry. Then we have to advise the customer very politely to open a fresh LC instead. Right. Which I hope that you understood, right? That's a practical question. Article 14. Right. I'll take it down. Article 14B. Article 14B. Article 14 discusses about the standard of examination of documents. Right. So out of which there are a lot of sub-articles going up to L, out of which 4 or 5 are important. Important means paramount important, right? It is not difficult like the Article 10, but a lot of examiners, they are very fond of giving questions based on Article 14, right? Article 14B, B for Bertie. Say a nominated bank, a nominated bank acting on its nomination, a confirmed bank, if any, a nominated bank acting on its nomination, comma, a confirmed bank, if any, and the issuing bank, and the issuing bank, shall each have a maximum of 5 banking days maximum of 5 banking days you are going to unlike. It's not business days, it's not working days, it's not calendar days. It's 5 banking days, right? 5 banking days following the day of presentation. Following the day of presentation. following the day of presentation. We need now, you have to get it very right. The question will not come the way that I am telling you. Question will come with dates referring to MCQ. They will say, your bank has received documents on successor date. Right? When the bank is supposed to advise the acceptance of the rejection. So you have to count the 5 banking days from there. Saturday, Sunday, they are international holidays, you have to leave out that. Right. Following the day of presentation, to determine if a presentation is compliant. Right. That part has to be well by hearted and understood properly. If you receive the documents today in the morning, at about 9 o'clock in the morning, during the course of business hours. Right? Now see, if the banking hours are from 9 to 3 p.m. Now this will vary from bank to bank. So therefore, if there's a question in this nature, they will say what the banking hours are for you to make assumptions. So this scenario, I will take a normal general view of the business hours is 9 to 3 a.m. If a set of documents received to the bank at about 8:59 a.m., 8:59 a.m., that is just before the business hours on a particular day, right? Then you have to count the number of days from day 1 itself. But if you receive the documents on 301, your work is still about 4:35, 5:30. In this case also, you may have come to the bank and you ought to come to the bank, say about 8:30 or 8 o'clock. The bank that I serve have to come at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. So 8 to 9, we are working. Right? 9 open for visitors. 3 o'clock, we are closed. But we are working still. Say 4:30, until 4:30 we are working. 8 to 4:30. So from 3 to 4:30 we are working. So I am taking a period, a time before 9 o'clock and after 3 o'clock. If you receive the documents before 9 o'clock, that will be considered as before that day. Now this is the day 1. Now we'll say day 3, this is day 3. If you receive documents 8:59 a.m., as if that is we are receiving day 2, then we have to count the banking days, 5 banking days from day 3 onwards. If you receive documents on 3:01 p.m., that means you have received documents on day 4. So you have to count the number of days from day 4 onwards. Right? We'll see whether that particular statement is right. Now, this is a plain idea. Now, we'll see with this particular sentence that I said whether this is right. Nominated bank acting on its nomination, confirmed bank if any, and issuing banks shall each have maximum of 5 banking days following the day of presentation. Following the day of presentation to determine a compliant presentation. So if I receive the documents today, when I say today means during the business course of days. Right? So the day will be counted not from this day, from this day onwards. Day 4 onwards. Right? I'll rephrase again. 9 to 3 a.m. is the business hours, and that's given as day 3. Before that is day 2. After that is day 4. I have received documents in day 2. So day 2 means any day, or it could be a time before 9 o'clock, even in day 3. Right? So if I get the documents in day 2, I have to count the number of days from day 3. But if I get the documents in day 4, that is on 3.1, I had to count from day 5 onwards. That's what I want to put across. Follow the day of presentation. So it will be easily understood if I say like this. If you receive a set of documents on Friday, during the course of business hours, within 9 to 3 p.m., right? You're all to check documents not on Friday, but on Monday onwards. So you have whole of 5 banking days to check documents. You know, there are 3 levels of checking documents depending on the value. That is why it takes a lot of time. So you need to split the documents, and there are experts of checking documents on particular documents, and they split the documents and they check the documents. So, but the count will be taken from Monday onwards. So by Friday, you need to determine the documents are accepted or not. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But you have received documents from before last Friday. Right? If you receive documents late in Friday or Saturday morning, that is as good as that you have received the documents on Monday morning. Then you count the number of banking days from Tuesday. That's what I'm first trying to emphasize. Right. Hope you understood that. That's what you call the 14B. That's what it says, right? Each bank, nominal bank, curfew bank, if any issue bank shall each have maximum 5 banking days. Right. Take down the scenario. A nominated bank, receives a set of documents on day 1, but fails to determine the fate of the presentation, within 5 banking days stipulated as in sub-article 14B of UCP 600. Is the nominated bank is liable? Is the nominated bank is liable? Right. That's for your homework. So you have to read 14B and Article 16. I will not tell you the specific article, sub-article here. You need to read the Article 16, 14B and 16, and catch the answer and drop a mail to me. Right? Right. So next Sunday, I'll try to discuss a question from March 2018 paper. So I hope that everybody will succeed to get the paper somehow. March 2018. And also I will discuss the Article 16. And the question that I have given is a tough question. And that particular question, then the Article 18. And I'll revert back to the Article 14B and E when I discuss about the Article 18, another important article with regard to commercial invoice, and Article 20 with regard to various bill of lading. And a few mentioning of the Charter Party bill of lading on Article 22, and clean transport document in Article 27. Another important article of insurance document 28. I will try to discuss, if time permits, the Article 29. Leaving the Article 30, 31, and Article 31 and 32 or to the next session. So within another two sessions, that is next Sunday and Sunday after next, I will cover the UCP 600. Meaning, we have covered the whole syllabus, the core syllabus of your exam, right? That paves me to do do the past papers and the assignments and try to groom you for a merit. Now you are in the, provided that you have studied on daily basis, you are in the past level, right? My aim is to groom you all for this session. So next few weeks, next couple of sessions, I will, uplift you to a merit somehow. So try to grab. And so I'm not telling that you are lucky or fortunate, but only thing, I might take a little break for about 2 years, at least for 1 year after the semester. So I expect the least to see you again. I don't know, once I come back, they will take me in, but then this is my last semester or the last lecturing that I'm doing. So try to grab somehow. If there's anything, you just call me. And till end of September, I might hang around. And after that, I'm leaving. Right. So try to feed me with the question that I have given. It's a tough one. If it's difficult, if you do not send me, even doesn't matter. But read the Article 14B and 16 properly and see whether you can get that element of the test that I have said, and try to figure out the answer in point form, right? In point form. And next time I will try to read out these, discuss about these few articles. Then finally, I will do the back-to-back letters of credit and transferable the profit which I left over in the session after next, that is the second week of September. Right. I'll wind up then. Study well these few weeks. And don't forget about the forex sums and the revolving sums. On daily basis, you need to do one sum at least. One sum at least each. Right? Otherwise, you might tend to forget and you might lose the speed loss as well. Right. Thank you.